Yebo, Sani Bernoni, guys. Sani Bernoni. All right. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. Hi, guys. Hello. Thank you for joining us. And well, those who are joining us this evening, it is an honor and a privilege that you guys are spending your data with me. Also, you guys are actually sacrificing your time and joining us on the lockdown convos with Coach Timmy. Now, just before we can start the show, I'm sure you guys, I've been waiting for one of you guys to ask me what that quote behind me is saying, you understand me? Just to ask me as to what is the quote there behind me. Just quickly, listen up. Here's what it says. It says, trust is the glue of life. Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships. Now, I'm dedicating this quote to each and every one of you guys who have been with Lockdown Convos with Coach Timmy from the very first episode that we had with Teram Tembu. And this quote is dedicated to you guys and also thanking you guys for joining me, Coach Timmy. Yeah, you know how it is, how we start the show. You know how it is. So thank you very much, guys. More especially to those who have been watching Lockdown Convos with Coach. So tonight's guest this evening is a very, very special guest. So last week we were talking about ladies in sport, ladies in business, or business in sport, you understand me? But now this week we're changing up a notch, you understand me? We are paying homage to Western Province Rugby this week, and we've got legends up in store. Understand me for this week. You guys are spending your data here. Good Coach Team, and thank you so much. Oh, and there is a guest of honor. Oh, yes. Let's give it a boom. That's how we start the show, the Lockdown Convos with Coach Team. So, like our guest, here we go. Boom! The man of the moment. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. There he joins us, the man of the moment, Nikita Manqoyi. How's it, mate? Are you well?
I'm good, thanks, Coach. How are you, man?
Hundreds, brother. Thank you very much for joining us. I was so looking forward to having you on today's show because you're also one of the people who are hectic influencers, not only around East London, but in the country at large. So now, for people who might be wondering, who is this fella? Who is this, okay, in your guys' screen? Just a quick introduction for the viewers back at home. First of all, as I've mentioned, this is Nikita Manqoyi, who hails from East London, the coast of all coasts, my bro. 043, stand up. You understand me? Or from the Eastern Cape, it's a product of St. Andrews all the way from Grahamstown. Yes, I've got bad memories for St. Andrews, but we'll discuss that later.
We have to discuss that.
We're gonna get to it. And also as well, he's played Craven Week for Eastern Province. Also played for, been part of the Western Province Rugby Union back in 2012 and 2013, and years later is now an entrepreneur, also involved with the Capitec London routes, as well as major events across the province and also across the country. But we'll talk about the snaps he took in Rio de Janeiro and also in Mali, but we'll get there. We'll get to that. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be a part of this. Basically, as you've mentioned, Nikita Manqoyi. I come from Mthatha, actually. That's where I grew up. I attended school there. And from Mthatha, I was in Port Shepstone and KZN for a couple of years. Moved to St. Andrews for high school. And then I moved to Stellenbosch. That's where I joined the Western Province Rugby Union for 2 years. And I actually moved to at the end of Western Province, I moved to the Lions for like a week, and then I decided to call it quits. But yeah, there's a whole lot of stories behind all of that, and maybe it's a conversation we can engage on some other time.
Oh, definitely. Well, as you know what I say, there's no better time than right now, because you are on the Lockdown Convos with Coach Timmy. Oh, yes. All right. So now for people, just even though I might have mentioned just the minor details in terms of who you are, what you've been doing in the past as well, but just so we can also get into the gist of things. As an entertainer, as an entrepreneur, how has lockdown been for you though thus far? Are you keeping safe? Are you sanitizing?
I mean, obviously, the only way is to keep safe now. Lockdown has hit us quite hard in the entertainment industry. We're people who like to have our people in numbers. We do outdoor events, obviously indoor events as well. But you know, with coronavirus, that's all not possible because then it means you need to bring in a large group of people together, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. Obviously, that's illegal at the moment. So it's been a hard hit on us financially and just in terms of keeping the brands alive that you keep taking
Yeah.
out to the people. You know, it's difficult, but I mean it's something that we have to deal with, and we just hope obviously it'll get better as time goes by. So yeah.
Oh, no, that's great stuff. That's great stuff. All right, Yasu, we've been talking about how it has been under lockdown for you as an entertainer. But before we get to that, let's just talk about the rugby player. You understand me? Nikita, the rugby player.
Hey, my
You understand
brother.
me? So, in your upbringing, how was Nikita in the up? Because you made mention of the fact that you were raised from originally in Mthatha. How was Nikita growing up?
Look, the school I went to in Tata didn't actually have rugby. Probably the last 2 years. I mean, well, obviously people were trying to play rugby, but there wasn't a system in place where there were coaches and a good rugby team that could compete against other schools that were obviously rugby traditional schools. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I had brothers that went to Queen's College. I don't know if you've heard of Mutamni, but yeah, he went to Queen's
Sure.
College, and
Okay,
obviously,
yeah.
yeah. So they installed a few rugby, you know, tricks and everything that she put together in me, and that's basically how I started playing rugby. I wasn't. My first rugby game was in grade six in Port Shepstone, and I got to that school with all the skills that you could, you know, necessarily have as the
Yeah.
basics per se. But I immediately made the A team. I was 12 and I played under 13 A's and played under 13 A's again in grade seven. And then I tried to obviously, well, you get selected to go into the provincial trials at KZN. And I think I was picked out of the third round. I mean, obviously, it was my first year rugby, so it wasn't too bad for me to go, you know, 3 rounds up. And
Yeah.
then I tried again the second year. I mean, obviously, I was lacking in a few departments that needed to be polished and needed, you know, professional setups in order for me to be able to make it further. So, yeah,
Yeah.
left Port Shepstone, went to St. Andrews, got to St. Andrews. I thought I knew it all. So, one of the coaches came to me under 14 and he told me, listen, I want you to play center for me. And I was so stuck up because of my size. I was quite a tiny guy. And I told him I wanted to play scrum off, but I couldn't pass both ways. You know, I had a very good pass to my left side, but towards the right, you know, it wasn't coming. So I had to practice, and eventually, after trials, I found myself in the B team. So it was a shock of my life. I was like, shit, you know. So
Yeah.
eventually, three games later, after a game where we came to play Selborne, had a good game there. The guy was like, "Listen, I need you to come play center for me." And the 14 A's. So went on the 14 A's, and I never looked back ever since. Played 14 A's, 15 A's, played 16 A's. Played a couple of games for seconds in grade 11. I think it was 3 games, and then I moved straight up to first team. So played first team grade
Yeah.
11 with the likes of Ryan Dugmore. I don't know if you know him, but and in
Yeah.
matric
Yeah.
as well. So matric year got scouted at the Cape schools here in King Williamstown at Dale when we were playing. I think we played against Paul Kim and all the other guys.
Yeah.
So I got scouted there, and I was supposed to go to Marty's in Stellenbosch, but I ended up at Province. So I was
Yeah.
at the Western Province Rugby Institute. Met all the new guys. We're all at the same age. Cheslin Colby, Justin Geduld, you know, just to name a few. So basically, it was that kind of setup. I mean, Rugby Institute is a tough place to be in, especially if you're a guy who's coming from the Eastern Cape. You basically have left everything behind. I mean, it is such a big culture shock when you get there because of the language barrier. So it gets to a point where you're fighting so hard without a support system. Whereas, you know, you've got all the guys that are from that side have got their families coming to watch them every weekend. So there's just a whole lot that you need to work through before you even get to, your talent as a rugby player. And, that basically
Yeah.
comes after all these challenges that you face going into,
Yeah.
that specific province. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just judging from what you are saying, I can also see that there is a bit of emotion because you're jogging your memory, and I can imagine you are actually thinking about how great those days were back in the days in province. Now, you're saying that now you also moved to the Lions. You also played in the Lions. But now, just rewind just a little bit. What made you actually gain interest in playing rugby? Is it because of your old Oscar?
Look, obviously they had a huge influence in me, deciding to play rugby. But obviously, I started enjoying it as time went, and it was just the type of game that I wanted to play. I mean, there was obviously other options when it came to sports.
Yeah.
There was soccer, there was hockey, there was swimming. It's up to you. But the one thing that I wanted to always do was go to a traditional rugby school because of growing up watching Queen's College play. I thought I'd go to Queen's. But it turned out I was just, going to...
That would have been a good choice.
A better school, as you may all know. So, yeah, I was looking forward to that culture, the war cries, and, everything else that I've heard and have seen growing up, going to a Queen's College. Yeah, well. So, yeah, obviously got there, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. I enjoyed it, and it's what kept me going, yeah.
Oh, it kept you going, kept you flying like no water, my friend. Yeah. So, now tell us quickly, now, you checked that in your high school, you spent your high school days in St. Andrews. How was life in Port Shepstone? How was life in Port Shepstone, though?
Port Shepstone was tricky. Look, I mean, obviously, are you asking in terms of rugby or just in general?
In general.
Yeah, it was very interesting actually because I was in boarding school. It was my first year in boarding school in grade 6, and when I got there, we were sharing the same house with the girls. So that was the first big surprise. I mean, I've never heard of boys and girls sharing the same hostel. The only things that I've heard about that is just not so great things. So it was interesting. Obviously, got into trouble here and there. Boys will always be boys, and it was an experience. It was different. Given the situation, would I take my kids there in future? Maybe. Who knows?
Then I will discuss that. And a special shout out to, see that you're talking about kids, a special shout out to the madam. But now you are saying that in Port Shepstone it was a great tradition, great vibe, and also it was a new experience for you as well. Now, how did you adapt to St. Andrews, having been in a school where it's a co-ed, then adapting to a college and also having great traditions still within you?
Look, I'm going to go back to hearing about all the experiences at Queen's College through my brothers. I had 3 brothers who went there, well, cousins, brothers, So basically, all the stories they tell us about how you guys get skunked and all of that, it's something that you put through your mind. It's something that you look forward to because you just felt like it was a cool thing. And eventually you get to a point where it's your turn to skunk, you understand? So you know what you're actually looking forward to at the end, you understand? So by the time I got to St. Andrews, the guys, first week there I was like, okay, so I'm expecting this. I'm expecting the worst in actual fact. And first week was pretty chill. So apparently that was the grace period. And eventually I asked one of the guys, like, so when do we, get beaten up here? When does it start? Like, and the guy's like, okay, so that's what you guys are looking for, and that's when it all started. But I mean, within the system, basically. So yeah, it was easy for me to adapt because I was actually anticipating it, and so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
No, that's great stuff. Now, your life in St. Andrews, I'm sure it also catapulted your career, and I'm sure the hunger to succeed in the sport grew phenomenally, sure, when you were there in St. Andrews. Because, I mean, I have been seeing a bit of most of your profile, actually, seeing your action pictures, seeing Gitanga, a thigh is a thigh. Be quiet, be quiet. Tempo. You have to say, yeah, Gene, and come on, yeah, smart, right? Yeah, what's happening over there? And also, just judging by your stature that you had back in high school, you could tell that you're a backup player. As you mentioned, that you played 12. And also the fact that Ma'a Nonu was your inspiration back in the days. Tell us more about that.
Look, I mean, I wasn't necessarily set on 12 because actually age group level, I played flower. I played a bit of, I mean, I was a utility. The first time, St. Andrews wasn't too prone on beating Grey PE at age group level, you know? So, I mean, one of the first games we won against Grey PE and at under 16, I was playing fullback. And we never had one line break from the actual 10, 12, 13 because of the communication that was happening, you know? I don't know, maybe I was a bit scared as well, so I made sure the guys were in place all the time. So maybe that played a bit of a part as well. But other than that, look, I played 13 in grade 11. So I wasn't actually playing 12. There was a center guy called Ian Harold who was pretty solid. I think he was playing first team the year before as well. So he had about 3 years in first team. So I slotted in at 13 and we made a good partnership as well. I mean, that year we were number 3 in the country. We had lost one game and we had lost to Bishops only in Cape Town. So played number 13 throughout the season, and the following season I played 13 beginning of the season as well. And I shifted to playing 12 when we were going to play Grey Bloom, and number 12 was Jan Serfontein. So I was shifted to from number 13 to number 12 so that I could try. So yeah, I just said that a combination got 3 Sonepool, no Jan Serfontein that day.
Headache.
It was a headache. It was hot. It was just it was just another thing.
Yeah.
But
No, that's great stuff. Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, so after that, basically played most of the season at center, out between 12 and 13. I think last game was against Bishops. I moved to play at the wing. So yeah, after that, went to Province, got to Province. I was playing center again. Obviously, all the guys now that I've been playing against in high school, it's now crunch time. Most of the guys at Province, obviously Bulls, so it's a whole different ball game. I mean, most of the time at Province I was playing center, and until I left.
Oh, that's great. No, that's great stuff and inspirational story there. And also, then you left St. Andrews. Now, speaking of St. Andrews, there have been a lot of legends that have come from St. Andrews, like the legendary Tiger Banks, who has to be undoubtedly the best fullback I've ever witnessed in schoolboy era, you understand me? As well as Walker, he played hooker, and as well as Price. I think I was back in 2009. Price. No, not as late, but it's fine. Well, so, and then you moved, you left St. Andrews, then you went to Western Province. Now, when you got to Western Province, did you see a future in rugby?
Look, when I got to Western Province, it's a whole different ball game. It's no longer necessarily about looking at the future, maybe, because it's something that you take a step at a time. You know, you take one step at a time. Basically, first few months, it's about getting to know the people, getting used to the system, getting used to the coaches, getting used to the players, the conditioning. It's different. Like I'd mentioned earlier on, it's a culture shock of note because you get there and you are from the Eastern Cape, as I've mentioned, and you've got to get used to this language where people are talking Afrikaans the entire time. You basically, the coaches sometimes forget that you guys exist. You know, the whole session will be conducted in an Afrikaans language, and they ask you only at the end, "Hey, Ban, did you actually get that?" No, you got that. And then it becomes an entire joke.
I know exactly.
So you start looking at all those things. Is this the right choice? Okay, maybe I can work through this. And then you push through, and there's injuries involved, obviously. And then you start realizing that actually here, you are competing with the real shit. Excuse my language, but I mean it's true. So it's not necessarily about doubting whether you've got a future or not, but you look at it in a way where, because obviously when you're there, you start mentally being so strong because of just the surroundings and everything that you're trying to achieve. So you no longer, looking at yourself as a under 14 kid who isn't sure about making a certain tackle. You understand? So it's just a matter of, you're gonna give it your best, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. And unfortunately, majority of us guys coming from this side, it's rare that it works out. But if it does, I mean, obviously, there's exceptions.
And I'm actually very glad you mentioned that even though most of black rugby players come from the Eastern Cape, and they all go to all the various unions, whether it's Western Province, whether it's Sharks, whether it's Blue Bulls, and Free State, and everywhere else, you understand? So it is very difficult for some to make it in the industry. It's just to a certain extent whereby you almost have to be special in order for you to actually make it in other provinces. But I mean, at the end of the day, you might have been at one of the greatest unions in the world, and I'm sure there are some great memories. Tell us about your greatest moments at Western Province.
Yeah, I've had many, eh? As a 19-year-old and 20-year-old, if you're gonna go to, obviously you're a rugby fanatic, and you're watching rugby growing up. So, and you're looking up to certain people, not thinking that one day you'll actually rub shoulders with them, So one of the weeks, we got called up to go train with the Stormers at under 19, and that's when Brian Abana and the guys were still there. So now you've got, Brian Abana calling you by first name. You got Jean de Villiers calling you by first name. It's very, very, it's a good thing. It can motivate you. It was amazing. It's great memories. So basically, one of the sessions we went to, and we were given certain plays. Obviously, I think that weekend the Stormers were playing against the Highlanders. So obviously, there's a starting team that'll be, we'll be running against, and then there's us on the sides. Not on the sides, but obviously the guys that are going to be playing on the weekend. So first time I ran into a tackle with Usiya Kolisi. No, Jean de Villiers. Yo, listen, my man, it was, it could have turned out very bad, but I mean, it's something that we always talk about, it's good memories. It's good memories that you'll forever cherish for the rest of your life. So yeah, I mean, there's lots that I could try to think of, but yeah.
I was saying, listen, Jim, dropping into your shoulder. I tell you defend them. I tell you defend them. I tell you defend them. It's only now that he loves defending. Hey, Captain.
I got lying.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. But yeah, those are all. I can imagine now the fun memories that you might have at Western Province. And now, just quickly moving away from rugby as well to the climax of the chat. But then. Now you left the sport. Just quickly, you left the sport. What are the reasons behind you leaving rugby, like hanging your boots and then deciding, you know what, I'm done?
Yeah. Look, then it's a very sensitive issue that people will always ask me about, because like I'm going to go back to this thing again. A lot of us come from the Eastern Cape, and our peers expect us to make it when we go towards those provinces, so your Sharks, Western Province. And when you don't make it, people are always asking you, they look at you as a failure, and they're always having these assumptions as to what happened. You understand? Maybe you just weren't good enough, or what it was. But again, I think I'm going to keep emphasizing this, and this culture shock that you get when you're going there. So many of us came from different provinces. So Eastern Cape, KZN, we had guys who were at Maritzburg College who were so good, we played against, and they nailed us in high school. But when we got to Western Province, so many things that would happen that would, get a player to the brink of actually quitting whilst they're still there. So you
Yeah.
get there, and I think it's very, very difficult, but
Yeah.
to put it out there, players of color don't have the same opportunity as the players who aren't of color. You understand? And it starts with the contracts that you get given when you are being scouted by these guys. So it happens that I can be given, let's say, 10,000 rand at a 19, just for example, and you get the same guy you're playing with in the team is given double the amount. So let's say we both played SA schools, So I'm telling you, I'm not going to mention names, but it's something that happened in my year. So the guy finds out that he's been given a contract, half of the other guy's contract. This guy played SA schools in grade 11, you know, and he's an outspoken guy and very confident. And unfortunately, the confidence gets mistaken for arrogance that side, especially when it comes to black guys. We don't know our worth even, when we go into these places. So this guy finds that he's been given half the amount that this guy's been giving. And he goes and asks the guys, so I've just found out that this is what's happening and I'd like to know why. And the response is that, let me make you a deal. Let's make you a deal. Prove yourself. Then we can give you what you're worth. You understand? So that's already messing with your confidence. Already. You are having to work, twice as hard as the next guy. And then this is before you even play. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you may be both talented, but there's just so many factors around all of this that, basically has such a negative effect in terms of your progress. So we move from the contracting part of it and we go towards, let's say, we're being conditioned, we're playing against each other, and I get an injury. Let's say my knee goes, and same guy of color, of that's not of color, his knee goes as well. It's because the guys, we almost see same. It happens with the English guys as well, but obviously with us as well. But we're seen as people who are, I don't know what's the word, suckies or softies or something like that. But that's how they perceive us, that side. Your injury isn't as taken as seriously as Eka Gwebes. You understand? Because Gwebes is an Afrikaans guy who is perceived to be so tough. So if Gwebes gets an injury, Gwebes is not faking. To an extent that they tell me, obviously, that at some point I need to get over this injury. Say, my friend, you need to get over this injury. You need to make a decision whether you want to play or not. You understand? So now we both injured, both knees, but our rehabilitation program is different. Why? This guy is getting more attention than me. He's doing exercises that I'm not doing. I'm just being told to pick up J stick or my name is T just for some condition strength. But this guy is like, there's different exercises obviously for rehabilitation, but I'm sure if you get to understand. But it's just the treatment is so different. And Tina, we don't get advised because we're not coming from a side where agents are easily available to us. Whereas Joburg, Cape Town, and Durban, those guys, games are always being watched by agents. So by the time they go to negotiate their first contract, they already have an agent. You understand? But Tina, from this side, it's rare that it happens. Bambala abantu basuka nawe Queen's College who've gone to a rugby union to be an agent, unless they've made SA schools and they've played well outside. We play the as well. You understand? So now you get there, you're being represented by someone that who doesn't have interests in Zako at heart at all. You understand? You get there, these guys are already playing with Adidas boots. You understand? But we're now, because my Nico already, we're not you understand? All of that comes into play at some point. It all comes into play at some
No,
point.
that's,
You understand? So
yeah.
it's so crazy. They like people will never understand really up until abantu abafana nam who've been through that system really speak out, and they'll basically give reasons as to why the injury happens. You understand? The guys who I got there with were way better than me. For instance, when we got there, by the time they left, I was maybe 10 times, well, not 10 times better, but much better than them, because mhlambe umuntu is not as
Say like it is.
umuntu
Yeah.
mhlambe is not as mentally strong as the next person. You know, their confidence was so
Yeah.
knocked down that they couldn't play anymore. They couldn't play anymore. Yeah, well, so it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of the things that I can think of.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
Oh. All right. Now, I do understand that that's very, very upsetting as well. But then, in life as well, you are given obstacles by the universe that you have to overcome. Because at the end of the day, you went through that, and look where you are right now, man. You understand? Because now you left, right? But you hung up your boots because of the reasons that you mentioned, and then you went to business. Was being part in business part of the plan? Because now you are a national. You are a national DJ. You're an entrepreneur, Mr. London Ruth. You understand? But tell us quickly, what exactly happened that made you get into business, entrepreneurship, as well as the Capitec London Roots?
Look, I come from a family that's always been into business. It doesn't matter what kind of business it is, but mainly it's been property and events. So obviously, not a lot of people in my family have been people that are like, we don't do well with being employed. We don't do well. I mean, it's not a bad thing for people that want to be employed. I mean, obviously, people are worried about security, for instance. And times like these, like for instance, now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and those people, well, some of the people that have been employed have their jobs still. And Tina Bandu decided back then when things were going well that this was the employer. But yeah, look, there are a lot of people that I felt played a huge role in terms of me getting into business. It's still happening till this day. I still look up to a lot of people. I've just been a person who felt like I needed to write my own rules. I can't. It's just me. I'm still learning, and it's just been that way.
Oh, no, that's great stuff. Now, you see that you come from a family who's always been into business, and you can also see now that you're also doing very well for yourself. Now, have you always wanted to be a DJ? Because I saw some night.
No, actually not, Not even. I still don't call myself a DJ. I mean, how that came about, we actually opened a place by the airport here in East London called Roots Lifestyle. We wanted to model it in a way where it was sort of some sort of a chisanyam. I don't know if you've been to Rand or Yadini, something similar, but in East London. You understand? So obviously there you've got your sound system, you've got everything, and I just decided to play with these things and taught myself how to do it. And then one day we just decided, listen, this past December, actually, we were having a pre-party for the main event on the 26th. And we decided that we'd actually play. And we hadn't actually practiced in so long or haven't done it because we ended up closing that place down for, different reasons. But we decided to give it a go. And we're here now.
Oh, no, that's great stuff. And you've been doing very well. And I'm sure that you have not looked back at all, judging the struggles that you've been through, the struggles that you had to endure, the heartbreak, the disappointment, you understand, the fatigue of just almost giving up, you understand. Yeah. But then if you think about it, you never really gave up though, because I mean, you never gave up on yourself. You might have just decided to change priorities, you understand me? And then now you blossomed and become the man that you the man that you are today. So now, and also I am aware of the fact that you're also one half of the London Roots boys. Tell us about your partner and how you guys built that relationship.
He's actually my best friend. We both grew up in Tata, and London Roots boys and London Roots they're two different things.
Yeah.
We just call we call ourselves the London Roots boys because we are part of the London Roots Entertainment. So we actually started the business with my brothers. So it's not just us two, you know. So I've got my brothers involved as well. And yeah, I mean, we come from such a long way, and we've been friends for so long. Since Mtata days. He's much older than me, but I mean, obviously that doesn't really matter. But yeah, we've been friends for quite some time, and we've just been doing everything with each other ever since then. And yeah, it's working. We keeping it that way.
I know, that's great stuff. And also, if in case we have any high school students who are watching this evening, as well as anyone who's maybe thinking of a professional career in any sport, I want you guys just quickly to understand one thing, that even if it becomes difficult, or even if you don't make it in rugby, it does not necessarily mean you are not going to make it in life. You understand me? So you can give up on something, but don't give up on passion. You can have passion. You can use your passion in other departments as well. You know. So now, just back to you, when our kids. Now, this coming December, should it happen that Ilana Duzienze, what can we expect that is different from last year?
Yo, look, we always trying to improve. Well, first I'm gonna start with these are when the Ilana Roots. I'm just that person who's so optimistic about it. We always trying to improve each year, and obviously, you know, offer people something different from the previous year and something much better. But it's been so difficult because of this COVID-19 to get together as a team and plan towards this event for the end of the year. I mean, sponsors have been trying to get in contact with us. But we just, you know, we wanted to sort of basically put it on hold a bit, you know. Obviously, there's social distancing and people have to stay indoors. So yeah, it's been difficult to try and put anything together. But obviously, now that the regulations have been, you know, relaxed a bit, we were looking to get together and, you know, start planning and putting something together that we can, you know, basically provide and
No, that's very true. And also, just going back to what you said, that you are a person who's very positive, just saying that now London Roots is our Wednesday. And that's the same thing. I'm also saying that the two events that I want for this year, 2020 owes us London Roots and the East London 10. 2020 owes us those two events in East London this December, you understand me? Because of the year, we started the year on a low note, we have to end the year on a high note to those two events, you understand me? Burial. So also, we have a few more minutes left with you, with Nikita Manqoyi. And if there are any questions that you guys might want to ask this man tonight, please be sure to ask any questions. I'll hand over the floor to you guys just shortly. Now, do you have any words of encouragement for people, for youngsters more especially, who might want a career in sports and also a career in business?
Okay, I'm going to start with sports. Obviously, we're talking rugby, but so I'm going to talk rugby. The only thing that I can tell you is that when you've got a goal, I think you just need to set your mind to it and go for it. We can't keep lying to Nabantu Sebesuga with the unions. We need to tell the guys the truth so that they go there prepared. They need to be able to tell their parents that, listen, mom, dad, I need the support structure, and you understand? So they just need to go for it. Try blockouts, and focus on what they're there for. They're gonna try break you. You know, that's the first thing that they did to me. You know, they tried to break me. I mean, I think first week there, I had to row 50 kilometers. Yeah, 50 kilometers. I was so more to come to king.
So just that.
So look, you just need to be mentally tough, and you need to ask around, and you know, just try prepare yourself. And also, I think it's very important to have something to fall back on, in the sense that you need to, if we're now going to academics, go for it. You understand? Don't. It's very difficult to try to do both, because I mean, when I was there at the institute, we were training 17 times a week. That's 3 to 4 times a day. So where do you actually find time to open your books when you're so exhausted? You know, you're tired, you just want to rest. So yeah, try to have something to fall back on, whether it's business, but I'd encourage abantu abanayo ichance yofunda bafunde. It's not for everyone, unfortunately. You can't force it on anyone, but if you do have that opportunity, use it, so that when things don't work out, you're able to go back onto your studies or your degree or diploma, or whatever you've got. Even if you want to go towards the business route doesn't always work out. If that doesn't work out, you've got the studies as well. If you're going to unzima, bro. You just need to you just need to keep going. You just need to keep going. Find a way.
Yeah, that's actually very true. Yeah. And just to add on to what you were saying as well, you know, there's a question, I'm going to attend this question now. And also, many kids who go to these unions are thinking, hoping for a future in whichever sport. There is life after sport, because at the end of the day, when you retire from sport, you haven't actually lived at all. Because we'll just quickly talk about rugby as well, because I mean, the tender age where you retire from playing rugby the average is like 36 or 37 years old. You haven't even reached your 40s yet, and you're already retiring from a career. You understand? So it's very, very important, like you say as well, that if you want a career in a sport, must also make sure that you have something to fall back on. And not everyone is going to be a sportsman. Not everyone is going to be a businessman. At the end of the day, you must have something where you know, if A does not work, I'll try B. If B doesn't work, I'll try C. Up to Z. If Z does not work, you make your own. At the end of the day, obstacles will be there to stop you from your destiny. Excuse me. Hey, when I'm psyched in their culture, you understand me? So
there's a question there.
I don't know what you say. It's actually very, very true that people need to understand that also in unions, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. It will never be easy. Even professionals right now have never had it easy, you understand? So just quickly moving on to this question. You have a question here from _15. He's saying that, he's asking rather, are the unions oppressive against the Eastern Cape players, or are Eastern Cape schools not preparing players for the professional setup? If so, what can be done better to prepare the crop?
Yeah, that is a tricky question. But like I said, I wouldn't necessarily say it's oppression against the EC schools, but obviously most schools in the Eastern Cape don't have the necessary facilities where they can prepare players, you know, for the next step, which is under 19 and up. So it starts actually with the schools here to develop better programs for the guys, which I believe they have since my time. So I think that's in place already. And then going to the provinces oppressing, really, like I said, I don't know if the person was here at the beginning of the conversation, but it's just a matter of the shock that you get, of the environment that you get to. It's tough. You've got to be mentally strong, and obviously you look at it in a way that it's oppressive against you as a player of color. But as I was saying, so, you know, at this day and age, you've got to look past that. I'm sure things have changed. I hope things have changed. But back then, and I can't even begin to imagine before my time how things were for each episode. No, teram table, no, bobo, you know. But I think things improve as time goes by. So yeah.
Oh no, that's great stuff. Well, it seems like there aren't any other questions now. There we go. Just check here. Okay. Well, seems like we have run out of time now with Nikita, Manqoyi, but thank you very much for joining us on Lockdown Convos with Coach Jimmy. And I hope that each and everyone who's been watching or who was watching tonight may have learned something. Also, thank you very much for shedding light as to what really happens in the unions, more especially for players that come from the Eastern Cape. You know, and I just hope that if there are any kids in high school across the country, as a matter of fact, who are hopeful in having a professional career in sports, to just make sure that you are mentally fit, you are ready for disappointment, you are ready for hard work, and you are ready to keep it going. Because at the end of the day, nothing worth it comes easy in life. So, do you have any last words to share for our viewers?
Just thanks, man, for having me. It's been an honor. And yeah, I really appreciate it. Good luck for the upcoming interviews that you're going to put together for the lockdown. Hopefully the lockdown will end soon.
It has to. No, the lockdown is going to end soon, but the lockdown convos will carry on. We'll change the name. We'll make it happen. Whichever way you want to have it happen. You understand me? All right, so Nikita, thank you very much for joining us. And I'll check you guys on the coast real soon, mate.
Thanks, my brother. Sure.
Oh, easy, bro. Okay, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We were joined tonight by none other than the guest of honor, Nikita Manqoyi, and it's always been a pleasure. Having a chat with this guy. And also, special shout out to you, Anna Daweti, offer yogurt, mate, for his shoulder real quick. Special shout out to each and every one of you guys taking part in this conversation and watching. And remember the quote behind me: "There's no trust." You understand me? There's no trust without. You understand? Hey, see the coaching more. You understand me? Yeah, we need trust. Trust is like a glue. Yes, trust is like a glue. You understand me? You guys have been trusting me for entertainment, and you guys have been trusting me to keep you guys occupied during the lockdown. And thank you very much for joining us. One more time, special shout out to Nikita Manqoyi. Thank you very much for joining me. Also, thank you very much for you guys watching here this evening. But we are not done. On Thursday, you got somebody else. I'll give you a hint. Former Springbok, my bro. You understand me? Former Springbok. And if you're paying attention, to this conversation, Nikita actually made mention of his name. Who could it be? Even me, I don't know. But thank you very much for joining us, guys. That's it for tonight's Lockdown Convos with Coach Teammate. We had the pleasure of having Nikita Manqoyi on the studio. So we'll see you guys on Thursday, same time, different day, same live chat. Coach Team out.